Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how I make my groundnut or peanut stew. I know they have the soup version of it. If you are the type that likes swallow, they have the soup version of it, but this is the stew version of it. So if you want to see how I make my stew peanuts, then keep on watching. So here are the list of ingredients you'll need, but don't worry, I'm going to be explaining them one after the other as we go along. So I'm going to start off by cooking my chicken. You can use any type of meat you like. Now to season the chicken, I'll be adding 1 Knorr cube, and inside that 1 Knorr cube we have 2 inside, so it's just 2 in 1. And after that I'll be adding some thyme, some rosemary, and some onion. This is 1 onion that I cut into 2, so I'm using half of the onion. And finally I'll be adding just a tiny bit of salt, and then add water to the level of the meat. Cover the pot and allow the meat to cook until it is done. Now these are the peppers and the onion I'll be using. I'll be using 1.5 of a red bell pepper, 1.5 of the onion. Remember, I used half of the onion to cook the meat, so this is the remaining half. And also 1 Scotch bonnet pepper. The pepper is spicy hot, so that's why I'm using 1. You can use more of the Scotch bonnet pepper depending on how hot it is. So I'm going to be cutting everything into smaller pieces so that it will fit into my food processor. Now after cutting the peppers and the half of the onion, I will cut the 1 onion into 2 again and add 1/2 to the peppers I cut already. Then slice these ones like very small and tiny, because I'm going to be frying it first before I add the blended peppers and onion. Now this is the groundnut I'm using. This is the salted one. I searched for the unsalted one, I couldn't find, so this is the one I could lay my hands on. And yeah, so that means I have to be very mindful of how I add my salt. That was why I added a little bit of salt when I was cooking the meat, remember. So this is the amount I'm going to be using. As you can see, it doesn't fill the food processor I'm using. Let's say half of it. So or let's say half a cup or 1 cup of groundnuts, basically, depending on the quantity of stew you are making. So I'm going to blend it very well until I get something like this. As you can see, it's not too smooth, and at the same time it's not too rough. It's just in between. Now I'm going to transfer it into a plate, and then I will begin to mix it up with some water just to get a very, or not too runny consistency, as you will see later. So I'm going to keep adding more water until I'm satisfied with the consistency that I like. So this is the consistency I am going for. As you can see, it's not too runny and it is not too thick either. Now with the same blender, I'm going to be blending all the peppers and the onion that I cut earlier. And you can do all of this in a blender. It doesn't have to be a food processor if you don't have one. But it's just that I like the texture that the food processor gives to the peppers and the onion. As you can see, it's not too smooth, just the way I want it. Now moving over to the pot, here is the real deal. I'm going to be adding some vegetable oil. I'm using maize oil, and I added, let's say, about 1 cooking spoon of the oil and then half cooking spoon of palm oil. I like to mix both together. Like if you have palm oil, just try this method, you will thank me later. It takes the taste and the flavor to another whole new level. So I'll add the half onion that I cut into pieces earlier, you remember, and then add about let's say 1 eating spoon of the mixed ginger and garlic. Mix everything, fry it for like 1 minute, and then add the blended peppers and the onions. Now I'm going to be adding my plum tomatoes. This is it is not blended to be too smooth, roughly blended, I would say. So I'm using one of that. You can add more depending on the quantity you're making. Now cover the pot and allow it to cook for approximately 10 minutes. So make sure you stir it in between the 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, add your blended groundnuts. Can you see how creamy it is? I love the creamy texture, like I feel like eating it already. So I'm going to mix it well in the sauce and cover the pot and allow it to cook for another 10 minutes. And remember to stir this thing constantly, like this thing burns like no man's business. So you don't want to cover the pot and then you just go and relax. Make sure you stir it occasionally so that it will not burn, just like mine did. I left it for like a minute to go check on something. Before I could come back, it has started burning already. Thank God I was using a non-stick pan. If not, I don't know. So I just added the meat stock together with the meat, and I'm going to be adding an extra 1 Knorr cube. And remember, we have 2 inside that Knorr cube. After that, I'll be adding some nutmeg, and I'm adding about, let's say, half a teaspoon of the nutmeg. I will also be adding half a teaspoon of paprika. And remember, you don't have to use all the ingredients I use. You can just make do with what you have. And also I'll be adding 1 teaspoon of the curry powder and some turmeric powder as well, just a dash of the turmeric powder, and that's it. So now I'll be stirring everything together to make sure they are well combined. So at this point, the stew is very thick for my liking. I like my stew to be not too thick and not too watery, just in between. I like it a little bit watery, that's the word. So I ended up adding a little bit more water, as you saw earlier, and this is exactly the consistency I was going for. Even though I went ahead and added more water off camera because it was getting thicker and thicker. So you want to add water if the stew is too thick for your liking. So after an additional 10 minutes or thereabouts of cooking the sauce, I'm now going to add my vegetable. That's the final step. So I am adding some nchuanwu leaves, that's scent leaves, which I took out from my freezer. Like, if you have scent leaves, make sure you add it to this recipe. You will come and thank me later. Honestly, I don't know how to explain it. The flavor, the taste it adds to this stew is amazing. So I'm going to be adding some frozen spinach as well. I'll cover the pot and allow it to simmer for an additional 5 more minutes. But before then, I added a little bit more salt. Even though I used the salted groundnut, the salt wasn't still enough, so I'm just adding just a little bit of salt, and that's it. The stew is ready, guys. This is the final result, and I will not go without tasting it for you guys as always. So I already boiled my rice, my white rice, and yeah, that's what I'll be serving the stew with. Like I said earlier in this video, this one is for rice, not for swallow. So if you like this type of video, please kindly give it a thumbs up. It really means a lot. It lets me know what you guys like to see on my channel, and please don't forget to try this recipe. Give me your feedback, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.